What is up, guys? Sloppy here, and today we're playing some more Madden and talking about the game of the week for week 3, which is an interesting week. A lot of divisional matchups, and if you like the team, those teams are great, but the best game of the schedule is probably the Monday Night Football game, which is Packers and Chiefs at Lambeau. And let's start by talking about the Packers defense, obviously led by the incomparable Clay Matthews. And what more can you say about him? He's great, and he's been playing a lot of inside linebacker recently. In the past few games, about 90% of his snaps, which have led to a lot of interesting defensive looks from the Packers. Obviously, you got Peppers on the line, which is fantastic. B.J. Raji is doubtful. But anyway, they've got a pretty good secondary. Clinton Dix, I think, shows a lot of promise as a safety. But either way, their secondary is passable. They get a lot of easy turnovers, mostly because of the pressure they're able to generate up front. They've got a really good pass rushing group. And they're not bad at stopping the run. They showed that against Seattle. They're not great, and I think they can be gashed by Jamaal Charles, but they're pretty good. Obviously, they have some improving to do. I'd say they're sort of a top 10 defense, but not an elite defense. And they've definitely slowed down their first two opponents, which is the Seahawks and the Bears, which their offenses can be quite talented if they get rolling. Anyway, why don't we roll on to the next topic, which is that Packers offense. Obviously led by Aaron Rodgers. What more can you say about him? He's an MVP. He dates Olivia Munn. He's the coolest guy on the planet, and he's the best damn quarterback on it as well. The biggest question mark for this offense will be who plays running back. Eddie Lacy is questionable for the game, and he's a big loss if they don't have him. He brings something that James Starks doesn't. Eddie Lacy is a fantastic running back. He's aggressive, he can hit you hard, he's also fast enough to beat you, he can run through the tackles, he can run outside, he can pass block reasonably well, but Starks is actually not a bad pass blocker, so that's not a big step down. Starks is also probably the better pass catcher, so if Starks starts, look for a little bit more passing than running. Anyway, this offensive line is talented from right across the board, more or less. They are a very good offensive line. And I can see them pushing around the Chiefs' defensive line. I think that'll be a great matchup all day long. The receivers are good. Obviously, losing your top receiver is hard, but when you have Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, and so on and so forth, and with Aaron Rodgers throwing it, you could be throwing to a sack of potatoes, and he'd probably still get 4,000 yards on the season. So why don't we talk about the people who are trying to stop him this week? That Chiefs defense. And the Chiefs defense is interesting because they're real good, if they want to be. Now, let me explain this. They've got an amazing group of players. I think they have one of the most talented defenses not in the NFC West. They have a really good defense. They can pass rush. They can defend the secondary. They've got talented linebackers. Houston is an absolute monster to block. Dontari Poe will stop you if you try and run in the A-gaps. From top to bottom, they're a good defense, and I think they match up quite well against this Packers offense. They can get a little bit of pressure on Aaron Rodgers, but he can evade it. Let's be honest, it's sort of what he does. But I think they can hold those receivers just long enough that they might be able to get, to Aaron Rodgers. But then again, they have some injury issues and some personnel issues from what I hear. So I don't know, it could be a great matchup. And then again, sacking Aaron Rodgers is way harder said than done. So why don't we prepare for a shootout and talk about the offense? Not that I think there will be a shootout, but we might as well talk about the offense. Of the Chiefs, led by Jamaal Charles, he's their best player. He is an incredible running back. One of the tops in the leagues, if not the top. Depends really who you ask. Anyway, talking about Jamaal Charles is always fun, but the rest of the offense is pretty good. The offensive line is talented. They'd be a lot better if they didn't pick Eric Fisher. This is why you don't draft from small schools with the top pick. He's pretty much a bust, but the rest of the offensive line is quite talented. Well, they're okay. They're not great, but they can get the job done if, they play well. Travis Kelce looks like a future superstar at tight end. I could see him having a big day. Obviously, you got Jason Avant, you got Jeremy Maclin. You actually have a pretty good crew of receivers, which is surprising because you don't say that about the Chiefs often. Alex Smith, always been called a game manager, but hey, he's pretty much the best damn game manager you can have. So I don't see any qualms with that. I think this will actually end up being a great game. I think they match up quite well on paper. I can't see it being a shootout. If it does end up going one way, I see Green Bay winning. I only see them winning by a touchdown or a field goal, but they could end up blowing them out. Depends if what version of the Chiefs we end up getting to play, because they played good defense against the Broncos, so that's cool. But anyway, that's about it for me, guys. Like, comment, sub, all that good stuff. Let me know what you guys think should have been the game of the week if you don't agree with this one. And let me know what you think about week 4, because I can see some good matchups on the horizon. And anyway, ciao.